So we're gonna talk about a foot evaluation. We're gonna do just the right leg in this position. So you can set the hip in neutral by getting the greater trochanter parallel to the table. To set your marks, you can use 3 of them. The biggest thing is to set this so that it's level to the floor, and you're going to just bring it across. And when you're at the maximum height, you're gonna make 3 marks. 1, 2, and 3. So the maximum congruence of those 2 arms, bring your line together. Your mid Achilles point, just bring your fingers up from the malleoli, mid Achilles. And you do the same thing on the calcaneus, 3 points. Just hang the goniometer until you have congruence of both piece parts. And there's your setup. For the prone part, passive dorsiflexion in subtalar neutral. So again, subtalar neutral, achieve that, try to get as close to 90 as you can, and then maximum dorsiflexion in subtalar neutral. And then your axis is going to be kind of mid-calcaneal to get your measurement there. And then gross dorsiflexion is not subtalar neutral and just keeping your axis in the same spot and getting maximum dorsiflexion. Then we have passive plantar flexion. So that is not subtalar neutral. So you're going to use that same axis around the calcaneus here and just maximally plantar flex. Passive inversion and eversion. So this is something where if you put the goniometer against your chest, it'll be much easier. You're going to be parallel to your lines with your axis directly over your Achilles point, and you're going to evert. So I'm just moving with my chest to stay parallel to the calcaneus, holding the tibial arm fixed. Inversion, just opposite, fixing on the Achilles point, parallel to the tibia, and now using my chest to move it parallel to the calcaneus. Leg to rear foot, this is in subtalar neutral. Again, if you can get them up to 90, that's great. And all you're doing here is comparing the angle of your tibial numbers through your Achilles and onto the calcaneus. So here should be rectus or 0. Typically, folks are going to be in rear foot varus. Rarely will you ever see rear foot valgus. If you do, I've been instructed to erase these and start over. And finally, the one that gives a lot of people trouble is rear foot to forefoot. So in this position, subtalar neutral at 90, you're going to lay your goniometer along the met heads, and then you're going to pull one arm back to where it's parallel to the bottom of the calcaneus, the inferior aspect of the calcaneus, and that difference is your rear foot to forefoot. So it just lays across here, and you bring one arm back to where it's parallel to the calcaneus. That's the prone portion. Sadie, go ahead and roll over on your back for me. In supine, there's several things. Leg length we won't go through. First, MTP extension. I'll show you on the left. But you want to come down the first metatarsal, axis at the joint, and you're going to move up the phalanx with the other arm. So just first MTP, pretty basic. Leg length we won't do. And then OMTJ and LMTJ, we'll come back to this side. So just remember the oblique mid-tarsal joint is the calcaneocuboid joint, or what we call the golfer's grip. So as if I'm holding a putter. Here, other hands on the calcaneus. In an open packed position where her calcaneus is floating, I'm just doing an abduction, dorsiflexion movement, and an adduction, plantar flexion movement, just back and forth. Then I'll put her in supination, which locks that axis, and see if it continues to move loose. If it tightens up, that's a negative test. If it stays loose, it's a positive test. That's a subjective measurement. For the longitudinal mid-tarsal joint, that is a talonavicular joint. So I'm going to grab the navicular, and I'm going to move it like a bottle cap, loosening a bottle cap. and with her in an open pack position or neutral, then I'm going to take her rear foot again, supinate it to lock the axis, and assess the movement. We would expect it to lock down. If it stays loose, that would be positive. And then finally, we'll go through standing. So Sadie, I'm going to have you stand for me.